think we can probably start with the very first piece, which will work in any language since it's text-based. Niti, we can go to the next slide.
That's good.
So using the chat function, and this was set up in advance, this is not improvised, we've had quite a journey from early this morning, at least at Eastern time, or like earlier in the evening in Asia to now. Take a second and think among yourselves, what stood out? What is the big takeaway that you're thinking about at this point? Now, maybe you need a little more a step back to actually reflect on this, but what comes first to mind? And I'll invite everybody just to type in the chat something that stands out, and we'll have a bit of a waterfall of different kind of comments. So what has stood out for you so far? And it could be a thread you see between the first three things. We've got interpretation now, so we're all good to go. If you're needing interpretation, please feel free to click it. But for everybody, what are some things that are standing out?
Alors, qu'est-ce qui vous a le plus marqué dans cette session que nous avons eue?
Okay, and we're all hearing the French interpretation right now, so I don't know if it's quite configured properly, but everyone else, if you want to click interpretation and hit English, if that's your favorite language, then that will facilitate maybe some other comments, but we won't have as much of a roundtable feel for this part of the presentation. So I'm hearing from Felicity, huge collective wisdom. Comprehensive cleft care is not complete without psychosocial, heart and mind opening, overlapping messages in 3 presentations. Yes, human experience, teamwork, bringing families closer, advocacy and buy-in, parent support, implementation focus. Even with diversity, our goals are the same for the patients we are privileged to care for. Yeah, around the world, so much important. Need for the improved patient health provider communication. This is amazing. This will all go as part of our record of this conference. And so thank you for, and if they continue to come up, please feel free to type them in the chat. This is an open invitation. Type into the chat just whatever's standing out for you at this particular moment, at this vantage point, having been through 3 roundtables.
I want to confirm that the interpretation is now sorted. People should be able to hear.
Thank you for the team. Thank you everyone for your patience. And we'll still make it to the end on time, I promise. We need to hear from patients and parents. The prominence of speech therapists everywhere. Haha, not a minority, definitely. And that definitely not part of this community. And then thanks from Himana for having interpretation. So thank you. Glad it's all sorted out. Wonderful. What amazing pieces. Niti, we'll go to the next slide. So very briefly, I wanted to have a little bit of a feedback from 2 people who have been active participants in our whole day, as well as part of the solution group journey. Dr. Felicity Mehendale, she's the cleft surgeon and head of the Global Cleft Research Program at the University of Edinburgh. She's also the immediate past president of the ICCPCA. So for those of you who followed online or were there in person in Edinburgh, Felicity was definitely hosting things. We're delighted to have her here. And also Dr. Adiola Alusanya. She's an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. She's a consultant with the University of College Hospital in Ibadan, Nigeria, and also an associate professor at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and 2 different perspectives. And so just to kick us off, Adiola, I'm kind of interested in where you're coming from in all this. You've been through all of these discussions today. We've asked everyone to write down a little bit of what stands out for them, but reflecting on today's conference, what stands out for you about the way forward for comprehensive cleft care in an LMIC context like your own?
All right, thanks, Hugh. It has been a very fascinating experience being part of this conference. In fact, I would say that your question is in itself a form of participant-reported outcome. So I think that the cleft care providers in low-income countries are ripe for the next step of provision of care. This conference has shown that. And then we should be asking ourselves questions targeted towards what have we achieved so far? How can we improve? What interventions? How can we do our interventions better? And who better to give us these answers than our beneficiaries? And these are our patients, our parents of our patients. So this underscores the need for the cleft care professionals to embrace the concepts of PROs, inputs from patient parent support group, and then to ensure that our holistic care is inclusive of the psychosocial arm. And navigations through all these interesting parts, I hope with all we've had today, these recommendations will guide us on how to go forward. Thank you.
So maybe, beyond this piece of the technical gaps, we might feel like, in terms of some resource constrained context, we don't have, we don't have a speech therapist on staff, or we don't have a cleft orthodontist. For you, that pulling that thread of psychosocial care and how it weaves together the team has been something that's been really important for you through this conference.
Yes.
And then, on this call, we started off the very day for people locating themselves in terms of a high income country context or a low and middle income country context. And we saw definitely, a huge preponderance of folks who would locate themselves in an LMIC context. But how would you say, if for those of us who do locate ourselves in the global north or in a high income country, well-resourced country context, what does today's conversation say to you about effective ways of collaborating north-south?
We in the low income context, we've actually so far have received various forms of support and guidance from high income countries. But actually, I think that we're grateful for this, but I think the supports have been geared more towards treatment provisions in cleft care, such as surgical, speech, orthodontics, to name a few. I think the time is now ripe for quality assessment of this treatment provision as a prominent factor in providing this support. For instance, supports for mission and outreaches, they can be tied to designated local centers in order to strengthen follow-up visits and also allow for outcome measurements and sustainability, if you get what I mean. In addition, we can have efforts that are directed towards opportunities for mentorship, collaborative research endeavors. And finally, I would want to say that liaison of high-income countries with centers in low-income countries can be done through national bodies of cleft professionals. This may assist in ensuring collective effort in provision of care, and also to ensure quality assurance of comprehensive cleft care. So that is what I would want to suggest, ways how high-income countries can be more effective in the low-income context. Thank you. Thanks,
Adiola. Yeah, really, really helpful perspective. Lots for us to think about. Probably a whole webinar in itself as we talk about that, but that's a great starting point. And Felicity, this is something that you've been thinking about. You've been very active in the high-level global collaboration, but one thing I think many of us noted in Edinburgh was, more prominence for voices and research that's rooted in LMIC countries. What stands out for you about our process today?
Thank you, Hugh. And I know you haven't asked me this, but I just want to say congratulations to the COCP and TF team for a superb day and lead up to today. I'm going to come back to how that makes a difference. And also to say thank you to my fellow SG group members too. It's been such a joy and so rewarding to work with you, as it has with the COCP advisors, who hopefully I represent their voice. They put a lot of thought into developing this and identifying the topics. And thanks to the scribes, the Alexis, Christian, and everybody without whom this would not have come together. So I think what stood out for me, Hugh, is sort of three things really: the ethos, building on the ethos of Cleft 2022, the content, the topic area, and crucially, the approach you took, the methodology. And I think the ethos for me, Cleft 2022 was about compassion, collaboration, compassion, excellence, together for better global cleft care. And I think hearing from so many disciplines, so many countries, identifying common themes, and yet some unique challenges that need to be addressed in different countries, so we all learn from one another, was very important. I think the content, I was so excited that, we focused on patient-reported outcomes, psychosocial care, and patient support groups. It mattered a lot that they featured prominently at an international conference. They haven't had the prominence they deserve. I love that this momentum has continued. And I think having our opening keynote at the conference on psychosocial aspects mattered. Many of you, some of you haven't been around as long as I have, but many of you will think, oh, we're talking about the same old thing at every conference. Do we not ever move on? And those who were on the panels know they were tasked with what are the next actions. And my goodness, this SG group has steroid injected our next actions. And so it feels like a natural progression, which is so exciting. It feels like there are tangible outcomes. But I also want to say, actually, Debbie's here. She's one of the COCP advisors. She was a key part of our CLEFT 2022 scientific program. It would never have been as good as it was without her input and without Ola Duncan. And it was so that was important. And I think crucially, the next actions that have been highlighted matter. I think what emerged today was some common themes about the responses. I was really interested. 98% of responses were, yes, PSOs are important. Yes, patient-reported outcomes are important, but the implementation presents challenges. So I see this as identifying, okay, what are the barriers? We've done a bit of work around that. We've come up with some solutions, but it's now maybe breaking them down into implementable small steps. It's about learning from good practice elsewhere, so we are not reinventing wheels, because the world is very good at reinventing wheels. McConnon put a note in the chat and said, I talked about small, practical, implementable, stepwise progression for great things. And I think McConnon, don't know if he's here, he talked about a saying in Ethiopia, little by little, and unless it was a typo, the egg walks.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that. And actually identifying some things that, yes, need funding and resources, but what are the cheap, quick, easy wins that we can achieve with our collective enthusiasm, like training, simple awareness. Can we have a resource? Adiola talked about national organizations in helping here. And I see the role of the ICCPCA as possibly providing a resource hub for patient support organizations. So we say, I've got this problem. What have we learned? Sharing what we produce from today, which, oh my goodness, Hugh, my mind is buzzing about all the amazing comments and input.
Well, that's a great segue, Felicity. Thank you. I'll give you one last, anything else you're dying to say before we...
Just dying to say, I think going down to the practicalities, we would not have achieved this much, this quickly and reached today without that system and structure behind it with your team. And I think if we are to make such progress happen, that support needs to be recognized and be resourced, because herding a bunch of clinicians to make these things happen does not happen just like that. So I think it's very easy to overlook that. And I absolutely have to mention it because it's of value. How do we support it? How do we ensure that happens to make days like today happen?
Thanks, Felicity. Lovely. Niti, can we see the next slide, please?
Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, that was perfect. Lovely. I think it's a great segue what Felicity's talking about. So the 38 or so CLEFT professionals that have done this journey, starting in January, as we mentioned, just looking at a couple key resources and saying, not all of us are experts in these topics, but we're all committed and passionate about seeing kids and families achieve full rehabilitation through comprehensive CLEFT care. How can we move forward on these topics, as Felicity mentioned, that were highlighted at CLEFT 2022? So that was phase one. They've been meeting 4 times since that time for these 75-minute meetings. And that really brought us to today. So we're at the end now, within minutes of ending these presentations and discussion. And I'll just emphasize again, add my voice in saying, I'm blown away by the depth of analysis and the positive heart and the real commitment of the CLEFT community. I mean, it is really inspiring. I don't know if there's any other community like this around the world that's interdisciplinary and works so well together, but this is something really exciting. But the job's not totally done. So we saw lots of comments about like, well, how do we, I want to share this, I want to talk more. So Niti will tell us that, you know, well, at least nod, that these roundtables will be uploaded to the COCP channel on YouTube. You'll be able to find them. We'll give you a note to let you know when that happens. You won't miss it. But also the solution groups are not done. As you heard probably throughout the day, there's one more meeting where we'll think about, you know, what did we hear today? What do we want to add or revise about our recommendations or just strengthen? And then, you know, the commitment from the COCP is that there will be some short, very practical, solution-focused guidelines published online that all of you will have access to, that you can bring back and discuss with each of your teams and maybe even your funders, and saying, you know, this is the way forward. So that phase 4 is going to happen shortly, that dissemination phase. But in terms of what we've done today, Niti, next slide, please. In your inbox at this very moment, there is a feedback survey. Maybe it's in your bulk folder, your spam. Look for it there. This is critical. This is what gives us the fuel to continue on. Now, this is our 3rd conference. If we're going to do any more or we'll learn from this stuff, we need to know how you felt about it. We need to know your assessment. And so please complete that right away. We'll want to think about it next week with the solution group's final meeting and how this all went. Also, bigger picture, we're about 3 years into this this Circle of Cleft Professionals journey. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing a little more assessment about, you know, what is working about what we're doing as a collective of 11 NGOs, what's not working so well, where can we go next? So two different things. One, though, this conference survey is right there right now. Take a minute if you're not too tired, if it's not, you know, 2 a.m. like in Perth or something, you know, fill it out right now. Otherwise, fill it out tomorrow while it's still fresh. And then we'll value that feedback. We'll pour over it, and we'll even publish the overall results of the ratings back with you in the conference report, so you can see how your assessment matched up with everyone else's. And again, feel free, those surveys, if you click on the top right-hand corner, you can access that in Spanish or in French. So feel free to express yourself however you feel most comfortable. Moving on, Niti, who do we need to give a shout out to?
Well, once again, we would like to say a huge thank you to these 11 international charity organizations, all of who have come together to make the COCP and this S4CCC conference possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end.